If you don't back that up with creating habitual change, then you will go back to your old neurology. You will go back to your old beliefs. You will regress back to the way you were before. So yes, you can have transformational moments, but then you also need to back that up with some consistent incremental change.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hello and welcome back to the show. My name's Rick Nusky. I'm your host. It's wonderful to have you here. You know what, today I think I am the luckiest person alive, not only because I'm the host, but because we get to share some incredible insights, some sage advice from those in the know that are making headway in their business, doing incredible things. And today's no different, because I have the pleasure of welcoming coach, facilitator, author and TEDx speaker, Mr. Jem Fuller, to the show. Welcome to the show.
G'day, Rick. Thanks very much for having me on.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Now, you and I were just talking about where you used to live and what you're now doing, and, you know, entering the second half of our life, which was where I guess we start to think about things maybe a little bit differently. And I'd love to talk a little bit more about that at some length. But the priority of the call really is how we can become more functional human beings and how we can use our innate skills and abilities to collaborate effectively and create outstanding results for the greater good. Now, I've taken that from literature that you provided, and I'd love for you in a moment to, I guess, extract the goodness out of that and tell us what that means. But before we do that, where are you calling in from today, Jim?
Mate, I'm calling in from home. I live in a little town called Belbray, which is right next to Bells Beach. Most people would have heard of Bells Beach.
Oh, yeah.
The surfing spot down on the Great Ocean Road. I'm on a 300-acre sheep farm, and we don't run the sheep here. There's a farmer who comes up and runs all the sheep, but we get the benefit of living on this beautiful big property with ocean views. So that's where I'm calling you from.
I can only imagine. Now, tell me that you've gone out and ridden a few waves there.
Oh, absolutely. Not today. I just had a look at the surf report and it's flat.
Oh.
But that's okay.
That's okay.
There's always going to be more waves.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that your only thing you enjoy doing in your pastime, Jim?
No. It's not the only thing. Last birthday was my 50th, and my partner rallied together a bunch of mates, and they all got me quite a nice mountain bike.
Oh.
And I've been really enjoying mountain biking, and the surf gets pretty competitive. I don't know if you surf.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of people trying to get the same wave.
Oh, yep.
And I'm not particularly good. So there's usually somebody better than me already on the wave. And it can get a bit frustrating. I mean, I love being in the ocean, but, you know, if I'm out there for an hour, I'm lucky to get one or two waves. Whereas mountain bike riding, there's nobody on the wave. The trails are there to share, and I've been really enjoying it. So I get my nature fix. I'm a big nature lover. I get the heart rate up and the body moving, which is fantastic, and the adrenaline because it's fun and, you know.
Yeah.
So mountain biking's been good. We love camping. We spend a lot of time camping, and my partner and I love hiking and trekking, and we've managed to find a way to work that into our businesses. We run retreats in the Himalaya prior to restrictions, obviously, and we will get them up and running again soon. But yeah, we take people on wonderful leadership retreats in the remote Himalayan mountains and the jungle of Bali and that. So we've managed to weave the things, the love interests into the work that we do as well.
I think that's critically important, to do what you enjoy, because, you know, life is not a dress rehearsal, is it, Jim? And I wonder, you know, at the end of your days, you know, what's the legacy you'd like to leave behind, given all the wonderful work that you're doing?
Yeah, look, I think the legacy that we leave behind, we're kidding ourselves if we think we're going to be remembered in terms of our name. So it's not about that. I mean, if you think about it like this, Rick, you probably know the names of your 4 grandparents, I'm presuming, but I don't know whether you would know all 8 names of your great grandparents. Most people don't. And the point of that is that your grandkids' kids won't know who you are or who you were.
Wow.
So to have this idea of, I want Jem Fuller, the person or the name, to be remembered is kind of foolish and egotistical. So when you ask about legacy, most immediately and closest to my heart is my teenage boys. And, you know, I would hope that the way I raise them puts them in good stead to be kind, you know, people who also want to do something good for beyond themselves, and then that would flow onto their children and their children and their children. So
Yep.
legacy in terms of lineage would be lovely, but also more globally for me. I do have my sights set pretty high, and I've just published my first book, which I'm getting
Wow.
really lovely feedback from now, from strangers, people who don't know me, who are reaching out and saying, thank you so much for writing this book. It's really helping me. So my books hopefully will leave some sort of legacy and continue to help people beyond me being around. That'd be nice.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
things like that.
Things like that. I do appreciate this. It gives some great context for the core of the call that we'll jump into it momentarily. Now, just winding back a few steps, when you go bike riding, you're in the moment. You're living in the now, as it were. Do you stop and just breathe? And how important is quietness and breath to you?
Oh, completely important. I certainly stop and breathe when I'm trying to get up the hills. Yeah. I might even say to my mates, I'm just taking a mindful moment.
Rubbish.
Yeah. No, to your point, it absolutely. In fact, I've created a habit throughout the day, and I call them pause moments. And I was inspired to create this habit in 2014, and I was at the Global Mindful Leader Forum in Sydney, and there were some of the most inspirational world leaders were there, and the theme of the conference was around mindfulness and how we can incorporate that as leaders. Mm-hmm. One of the keynote speakers got up, and it was just the right time for me to hear this man speak. Two of the things he said really landed with me. Mm. One of them was, know the work. He was talking about meditation. Know the work, but what really stuck with me was he said, do the work.
Yes.
And that landed with me because I've always dallied with meditation and mindfulness meditation. And in 2014, I was a year into my coaching practice, and I was prescribing it, so to speak. I was suggesting to my clients that they meditate, but I didn't have a regular habitual practice. And I thought, Jem, you've got to step up and do this if to have any authenticity. So in 2014, I started a daily practice of mindfulness meditation, which has now become habitual. But the other thing that this guy said was pause often. And I went, wow. And he said, that's all he said, pause often. I thought, how can I take that? What can I do with that? So I took little post-it notes and I stuck them around the house in places where I had habitual practices going on already anyway. So for example, brushing my teeth, I stuck a little note there saying pause. My coffee machine, I love the ritual of making a coffee in the morning. I put a little sticky note there saying pause. And so I linked the new habit with the existing habits, creating a neural association. Now I don't have the sticky notes anywhere, but there's certain actions that I take throughout the day that remind me to pause. And these little pause moments are short, just a few seconds, take a breath, just notice what you can notice in the moment. They've become like little recalibrations back to my center, back to my place of equanimity. And Rick, I share this with all of my clients and I say, look, I know it seems too simple and too small to make a big difference, but these little 1% habitual actions that we create over the longer term can be game changing. So yes, I do pause and breathe often.
We're talking about habit, obviously, and I'd love to give a perspective for the listener what a day includes for you. First of all, are you an early riser, and what happens after that point?
Yeah, look, I'm not a ridiculously early riser by nature, so my body clock would normally used to. I'm 7 weeks into creating new habits. My body clock normally would wake me at about 7. I've got teenage boys that need to get off to the bus and get off to school, etc. But I'm naturally reasonably normal. I'm not one of these people that would love to sleep until 10. I can't do that. My body's awake.
Yep.
At the moment, I'm pushing it further. I'm pushing it a bit earlier, and I'm creating new habit. So I've been meditating for 20 minutes most mornings since 2014. Now I've upped the habitual practice in the morning. So my day usually starts at either 5:30 or 6. I'll meditate for half an hour. Then I do 5 to 10 minutes of affirmations.
Yep.
And I used to think affirmations were just a kind of woo-woo hippie thing to do, but now I understand the neuroscience behind them, so I do them with more fervor. So 5 to 10 minutes of affirmations, half an hour of either weights. I've got a little gym here at home, so either half an hour of weights or half hour run. and by this stage it's 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and I've already got that stuff done.
Yep.
And then I'm in the shower and getting breakfast and getting kids off to school, and then
All
coaching
that jazz.
clients and doing what I
Getting
do. Yeah.
into it. Yeah. Oh, I'd just love to talk about, I guess, diet and hydration. Do you think you can win with water? Is that your mainstay? I know you enjoy a coffee, but how important's, your diet?
Yeah, look, super important.
Mm.
We are what we eat,
Mm.
essentially, aren't we?
Mm.
My diet's always been moderately good. I don't like fast food, so I don't eat it. Um, my partner and I will go out occasionally, but generally it's all home cooked food.
Yep.
I'm pretty lucky. I eat meat.
Yep.
My diet's not perfect. Over the last, we're in this 10-week cleanse at the moment, so to speak. So no sugar, no complex carbs, separating proteins and good carbs. Just doing a bit of a thing to, kick myself back into shape. Well, I did put on a few kilos through COVID.
Easy
I
done.
don't know if anyone else
Oh,
relates
yeah,
to
yeah.
that, but
No, I do.
yeah, but I did. But no, look, I think it's really important, and the research shows us that as much whole food as possible,
Yep.
as little processed food as possible. And I've just finished listening to a remarkable book by Johann Hari, who's a great author, and his latest book is called Stolen Focus,
Mm-hmm.
and it's talking about how our ability to pay attention and to focus has been deteriorating, and he talks about lots of the reasons why, and one of them is diet and food.
Yep.
And not enough water. So yeah, look, water's a big part of my life.
Yep.
I sit here, and I don't know if I'm on camera or not, but there's
Yes,
always
there you go.
a good,
Love it.
it's always here, and it's always getting drunk, so it means more trips to the loo, but that's all
Yeah,
right.
no, I'd prefer that. That's for sure and certain. Now, I'm just circling back on the COVID situation. I'm wondering, because I speak to a lot of people, globally basically, and we talk about this in terms of the psychological impacts that this pandemic is having on people. How have you managed through this process? Because I know that in where you are, Melbourne, or a
Mm,
little bit away from where you are, but
mm.
people are struggling.
Yeah, people are struggling. Personally, I've been really lucky.
Mm.
I've been developing a very resilient mindset for quite a long time now. So I was pretty well positioned in terms of my perspective and my mindset for this. Also, like I said to you before, I think before we started the call, I live on 300 acres, so I've got
Mm.
land around me. Victoria was the most locked down
Oh,
place
yeah.
in the world for the
Yep.
longest period of time. So but again, for me, I feel very lucky. I was able to bring all of my work online. In fact, my work doubled year on year through COVID.
Oh, wow.
Um, but my clients and my kids and their friends, there was lots of struggle, lots of
Mm.
struggle.
Mm.
So I'm very aware of how much people struggled, and I'm also aware of how little I did struggle. Our bubble was quite big. Got
Mm.
a blended family here at the farm. There's two houses. My brother and his wife and their little kids are next door. My mum lives with us. Between me and my partner, we've got 4 teenagers. So the bubble was quite big.
Yep.
And there's certain things that humans need that humans were deprived of through lockdowns. And for example, we need connection. We're a social creature, and isolation is not good for us. Even for introverts,
Yep.
they still need some sort of connection.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be in nature. Nature is, as you know, super healthy for us.
Yep.
And we need to be able to move. Movement is really, really important for our health and well-being. And so people were restricted in these areas, which wasn't good.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the feedback. Now, what type of person is attracted to the work that you're doing? And do you find that the people that you're working with, you're actually forging, I guess, almost longer term friendships and work, as opposed to just a standard working relationship?
Yeah, that does happen.
Yep.
That does happen because
Mm.
when I'm coaching, especially when I'm coaching leaders one-to-one, it's personal development for professionals. I'm
Yep.
working with the functionality and the capabilities of you as a person, which then translates to you as a leader. Obviously, that's what the organization is paying us to do, is
Mm.
to help improve your leadership. But also it's completely translatable to every relationship. It helps you be a better partner. It helps you be a better parent, a better sibling, a better community member, the work that we do. So
Mm.
yes, we forge really lovely relationships. It's pretty clear we don't we don't call each other up for a beer on the weekend, but we do. Me and my clients are in regular contact because a part of the service that I provide is weekly support and accountability. Yep. So most of my one-to-one clients, there's a dedicated coaching session each month, but every Monday they're getting a personal text from me. G'day, Rick, have you done what you said you were going to do? And if you haven't, what can I do to support you to take the actions that you said that you would take? I think accountability is a really important part of any coaching, whether you're coaching basketball or leadership. Having that continual support and accountability is really important. So yeah, we get close, Some of my clients, there are some engagements where an organization will say, Jem, we've heard about your awesome culture workshops. Can you just come in and run a one-day workshop?
Mm-hmm.
And of course I say yes.
Yes.
But I also say to them, look, yes, I'll come and do a one-day workshop for you. And, if you've got 20 people in the room, maybe one or two of them might actually take something from it and make some changes in the way they show up to work or in their life.
Yep.
But that's probably going to be it. The rest of them will be entertained and maybe even inspired, and might have penny drop moments and go, aha, yeah, wow, that's awesome. But for real sustainable change to occur, it takes time. It takes that support and accountability piece.
Yep.
It takes consistency over a period of time. So the organizations that I'm really able to help make proper change culturally, that lasts beyond the work, they usually engage me for a year.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, obviously, you've just touched on this. It's very much incremental steps forward rather than wholesale transformative. Do you ever see transformations, very rapid ones?
Yeah, absolutely. They both exist. So you can have the Tony Robbins light bulb moment.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
But, and now this is just what I believe. This is not necessarily a truth. This is just my experience.
Yep.
You can have the Tony Robbins light bulb moment and walk on hot coals and have a real kind of transformation of awareness and perspective. And I know this because I've done it, and I've done his stuff and I've walked the hot coals. But if you don't back that up with creating habitual change, then you will go back to your old neurology. You will go back to your old beliefs. You will regress back to the way you were before. So yes, you can have transformational moments, but then you also need to back that up with some consistent incremental change.
There seems to be some obvious foundational work that one must do to get any improvement, get any outcomes when they're working with you. How does that come about in a situation when you're working with clients that have people in your workshops that have been told that they have to be there? What's your process for getting them away from that mindset?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a really good question. You can't inspire change in anyone who doesn't want to change. And yeah, 100%. So you've got the head of the HR department, or you've got the head of people and culture, or you've got even the CEO has said, right, I love this guy, Jem. He's awesome. Let's get him in for a day and bring everyone along. And everyone comes along because they've been told to. So there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do. And, obviously I go in there and I speak to that. There's no smokes and mirrors with the work I do. I'm completely authentic and straight up with the people in the room. Very clear. And even sometimes, depending on the room and my gauge on the room, I'll even speak to that and say, look, you're all here because you've told you have to be here. What I would love for you is that you leave this room at the end of today with something, just something that you didn't have before, that will help make your life a little bit easier, that will help you bring some more flow and success to whatever it is that you care about. That's my intention for today.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask the room to set an intention for themselves, etc. So it's in the framing.
Yep.
Yeah, take the ownership, and there's tricks of the trade in facilitation that we use to set up the framing of the day, the context of the day at the start of the day, that are best going to get the individuals to want to lean in. If we start any workshop at the start of the day by touching or alluding to why they might want to listen.
Yeah.
So if you start bringing up things and everyone in the room's quietly to themselves going, oh, wow, I really want to listen to this. then we're starting to bring people in, and then we can do some good work.
And you can nurture them from there. I wonder, given that you talked about a year being the general, I guess, engagement for you working with organisations, let's talk a little bit about workplace culture, because I know this is a long-term sort of commitment from both you and the people that are involved. What can you talk to in terms of workplace culture? Does it exist? Is it a thing at all?
Oh, look, to any degree of health, it exists whether you like it or not. You can have a toxic workplace culture. You can have a divided workplace culture. You can have, if you've got an organisation large enough where there are teams that don't ever really have to have anything to do with each other, then you could ask somebody in that organisation, what's it like to work at TAC or Vic Roads or, WorkSafe or one of these big governmental size organisations? What's it like to work there? You could have somebody say, oh, it's wonderful. It's great. The culture's awesome, right? You could have someone from exactly the same organisation say, it's terrible. It's toxic. What they're actually talking about is the culture in their immediate team. You could be working in a terrible team in a what's said to be an amazing organisation.
Yep.
But if your team culture is terrible, your experience daily is terrible, not great.
Yeah. It's more local.
It is more local. So the smaller the organisation, obviously the easier it is to design, create, and then curate the culture that you believe is the healthiest environment for people to thrive in. The larger the organisation, obviously, the harder it is to get a culture that runs through all the levels and across all the departments. But it is certainly possible to improve culture, and there's some strategies and techniques that I've designed to that end.
Yeah, great. I'm loving this call. Thank you so very much, Jem. Now, I always love asking this particular question. Now, if you could say that you had a superpower, what is it? What is the one thing you do the best?
Seek to understand. This is not a superpower I was born with. This is something that I've been consciously cultivating. And through the process of a practice of self-acceptance and resolution with my past, which is a resolution with self, right?
Yep.
So by the more resolved you are with self, which is your relationship with your past, the less it needs to be about you in any given interaction. Let me flip that, right? If I've got a lot of stuff that I'm unresolved with in my relationship with myself and my relationship with my past, I've got a lot of filters, I've got a lot of biases, I've got a lot of stuff, static noise in between me and what you're actually trying to communicate to me. So I'm going to distort the information that you're trying to share with me through all the lenses of my stuff and my past, right? So when you can resolve, do the work with self to come to a place of radical self-acceptance, then there's less noise, and the more clearly I can see you. So when we're sitting together, you feel like I get you. And that ability in communication, I think, is a bit of a superpower.
Yeah, that's wonderful feedback. Thank you. And given that you've touched on communication, how do we know if we're being our truest, authentic self in communication with others, particularly in the workplace? Let's put it into that context. Or if we are using those filters, and can you tell?
If the more aware we become, the more we can tell. The less aware we are, the less we can tell, because we're caught in ego, which is a necessary function of being human, is a sense of identity. So it's not a bad thing; it just is. And but ego will be driving the bus unless you're aware of it pretty much all the time. It's very reactionary. It's offensive, very defensive. Someone will criticize an idea of yours, and you take it personally and get really upset, and the conversation goes south, and then in the end that person doesn't want to collaborate with you anymore because it always gets awkward. Or you're listening to someone share their idea and you're already queuing up in your idea to rebut or to say what you think. This is all ego, and it gets very, very defensive. And if our sense of identity is attacked, we react very strongly. And our sense of identity is enmeshed into our ideology and our politic. So it's been, watching families fall apart over an idea like should you be vaccinated or not?
Or not? Yes.
And
Polarizing.
families have fallen apart over this. Why? Because their ideology, as in this is the way you should live, is enmeshed in their sense of identity. And so their identity has been at war, challenged, and they've broken up over it.
That's incredible. Yeah, I've heard many stories. Is this where the work of human behavioural profiling comes in?
Yeah, it's certainly part of it. Look, the ego thing. We all have an ego, and some of us have very healthy egos, a sense of self that is functional and stands you in good stead to enjoy your life and do good work. Some people have very dysfunctional egos, limiting beliefs about themselves or whatever it is. So we all have an ego, regardless of what your behavioural profile is.
Yep.
However, having said that, some of the behavioural profiles, some people who are very strongly one behavioural style as opposed to another are way more assertive, way more extrovert, way more me-centric. So their ego comes across as being much stronger.
Yeah.
More assertive, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Now, I'm wondering, what is your modus operandi given the nature of the world we're living at the moment? Are you doing retreats? Are you just about to do more local stuff? What's happening?
Yeah, so the international retreats obviously got put on hold. Chomping at the bit to run them again, because that's the sweetest spot of the work for me is the retreats, because that's where people have the most profound and life-defining experiences. And also on a selfish level, I get to travel to these beautiful places.
Of course.
Yeah, I've got my second family in this village in the Himalaya in North India where we run retreats, and this family have been, my second family since my late 20s. So for, over 20 years now. And I miss them dearly. And we also inject some good economy into the little village. Excellent. There. We've built a school there. We've implemented a rubbish collection and education program. We've put rubbish bins into the school and lobbying local government to come and collect the bins. And then when I bring clients there, we're injecting a little bit of economy in there. My partner and I sponsor some of the kids to school, and so it's heart. A lot of heart is in this village, and we haven't been able to be there for a couple of years.
To me, that's definitely.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. You're going to answer that one.
Yeah. So look, I'm looking forward to doing those again. In the first year of COVID, I caught myself thinking something that wasn't going to work. I was sitting on the couch. I just got the job seeker approved, so I could put baked beans on the table for the kids. And I took a breath, a sigh of relief, and went, okay, well, that's all right. We can pay the rent and put food on the table. We'll be okay. And I heard myself saying, I'll just ride this out. It'll be a few months. I'll ride it out, and then I'll engage with my work again properly. And I heard myself saying that. I went, Jem, that is not going to work. That thinking's not going to work. No. You need to figure out how you can be relevant for the people who need you and want you now more than ever before.
Yeah.
And so I did that. So I did the typical pivot thing that became the kind of catch cry. But I pivoted, took all of my work online. Coincidentally, I had just designed and released my first online course before COVID came. Literally 2 months before COVID came, we had launched this course, and Rick, it was in personal resilience.
Oh.
And then COVID came. So you can imagine how helpful the course was then for people, and organisations, clients of mine started running their people through this course, and we ended up having it endorsed by the NDS, and it sits on their website as a resource. One of the top clinical psychologists who worked in first response with Vic Police and the Metropolitan Fire Brigade and others, she did the course and stamped it with her critical approval. She loves it. Very good. I felt confident that the course was worth it. So that course was my first kind of entrance into online courses. And then all of my work came online, and there were benefits to it as well. I mean, look, it's not the same as being in the room with people, obviously, but there are benefits. Some of my governmental departments that I'm coaching the regional managers across in the past, getting the regional managers from across all of Victoria into the one space was logistically something that needed to be organised. Painful, right, for them. But having them all just log into a Zoom call was like, wow, we're all
very
be
lucky,
together.
aren't we, that we have that technology to do it.
Yeah, very lucky. So there's certainly been some benefits. The cost of diesel into my Land Rover went down to almost nothing.
Nothing. Yep.
And the amount of clients that I can serve in a day doubled because I wasn't driving around to see everybody.
Yeah, the one-to-many approach. Now, are you working on any new, I guess, curriculum, any new narratives that you want to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the book, which was launched in November last year, which is The Art of Conscious Communication for Thoughtful Men, is now starting to get reviews and feedback, which is wonderful. It's doing good work, and that's the most important thing for me. We're in negotiations at the moment with a couple of publishers in the States, so that's all very exciting. I'm allowed to say this. It got selected to go into a hamper of gifts, goodies that are going to all the Oscar nominees in the next few weeks for the Oscars.
Wow.
Delivered to their home. So everyone who got nominated for an Oscar, including Steven Spielberg and Will Smith, who are a couple of faves of mine.
That is incredible.
My book's going to end up in their house in the next couple of weeks. So I'm really crossing my fingers that they open the front cover and are intrigued enough to have a read of the book.
Absolutely.
So that's the book. And now in 2 weeks, I've booked in with my film crew to shoot the online course. It's a conscious communication for leaders course. We're going to be shooting all of that, and then that will get built and that'll be available at some point, I guess, in the next 2 or 3 months.
You know what? This has been an amazing call, full of great communication, I'd suggest, and I just love it. If you wouldn't mind, if people want to reach out to you, share with the audience where they're going to find you.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to find. So Jem Fuller, JEMFULLER. JemFuller.com is my website. You can access all of my resources there. You can also reach out to me personally there through the contact form. Those emails come to me. If you want to follow what I do, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, all Jem Fuller.
Fantastic. And with regard to the book, if people want to get their hands on that, is that accessible via your website? Through
the website, yep. You can. There's a page for my books on the website, or you can go onto Amazon if you want. I'd prefer if you go through the website, then I don't have to give money to Amazon. But do it whatever you want. Or in Australia, if you go into your local bookshop and ask them for it, they've got it on their list and they can order it through our distributor, and that would be nice also because it'll end up in more bookshops.
Yeah, that's great. Look, if you're on this call today and you've heard any of this, you know full well that Jem knows his stuff. So if you want to reach out to him, below this post you will find links back to Jem and all of his amazing work, his books and so on and so forth. With all that being said, Jem, incredible call. Thank you so very much for joining me on the show today.
You're welcome, Rick. Thanks for having me along.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.